Okay, wonderful. Okay, I'll take it from here then. So, let me just share my screen. Hopefully you can all see that. Can you all see that? Can you give me a thumbs up that you can
Yes.
see my thing? Fantastic. Okay, so yes, my name is Sean Martin, and I am the head of community education here at WWF Hong Kong. So today I'll be talking a little bit about Hong Kong's biodiversity, but I'm pretty sure you guys know a lot about that as well. Basically, citizen science, general citizen science, and the use of iNaturalist, how to use it, and of course the database itself, which is completely free and open for anybody to use and plunder their resources. Following that, I'll give you a brief rundown of the City Nature Challenge, how well we've done in the past, and what basically you can do to join in. So, without further ado, as is always necessary whenever I do presentations with my on brand. A little bit about WWF. So as you can see from the map there, we have offices in various countries all over the world. Thus, the loads of pandas all over the map there. Basically, we all do different things. Some of these offices focus primarily on conservation. Others are more education based. Others a little bit more in corporate finance. But basically, we all have a main objective, which is to build a future in which humans live in harmony with nature. That is the main modus operandi for WWF International, as well as what we do. So, a little bit about Hong Kong and Hong Kong's biodiversity. So you've probably seen these statistics before. As you can see, Hong Kong has a huge amount of diversity in such a small area. So you can see there over 3,300 different types of vascular plants, over 550 different types of birds. We're also including, by the way, local birds who reside here throughout the year, but also birds that stop off on their migration routes. And as you've probably been to Maipo Nature Reserve, it's a very, very popular stop-off point for birds that like these wetlands as well. So on the East Asia Australasian flyway. Of course, we are a massive haven for butterflies, which truly astonishes me, but the amount of butterflies we have, according to this, which is an AFCD/WWF database here, we have over 260 different types. As now I've heard about it, there's about 261, according to the recent news, in which a new type of moth has been I guess I don't know, is it discovered or published? I'm not too sure what's the correct term so far, but ultimately really exciting to see something new happening in Lantau. So Hong Kong itself, of course, is a very, very small area. Now, reasons for in if we actually compare that, as we often like to do, with say something like England, you can see here England's land area is about 100, just over 130 kilometers squared, whereas Hong Kong's is just over 1,000. We have about 0.8% of England's land area. Now you compare that with what England's biodiversity actually is. Boop. Okay, so you can see here we have less terrestrial mammals than England. I will give them that, absolutely, yes. But for everything else, we are absolutely we're just better than them. All right, we're just better than England. All right. Ultimately, you can see with reptiles, we have around 88 species of reptiles. England has 7. Amphibians, we have around 24 different types of amphibians. England has 7. Dragonflies, around 130. England has 37. Vascular plants, we beat them. Birds, okay, we kind of like, we're kind of like in the middle of here. But fish, amazing freshwater and marine species, we have more than England. In fact, a sort of well-bounded statistic that always seems to come up when discussing Hong Kong's biodiversity, especially due to the waters surrounding Hong Kong, is that we have more species of coral than the Caribbean Sea. which is, again, an astonishing statistic. Obviously, when we look at things like keystone species, some of our more popular examples, top right, top left there, you have the black-faced spoonbill, especially important for our line of work at WWF, as we obviously manage Maipo Nature Reserve. The black-faced spoonbill is a big has big stop-off point in its migration routes there. Obviously, the Chinese white dolphin, another major key species for our own conservation efforts. Hong Kong, that's top right, is the Hong Kong newt, which, as the name suggests, only resides in Hong Kong, maybe a few other places north of the border, but it's mostly a Hong Kong newt. All right, thus the name. And of course, green turtles. You see that bottom left there, bottom right. If you guys have ever been to Llama Island, there's that little beach there on the south of Llama Island called Sham Wan, which actually the AFCD have just closed to allow green turtles to come up and lay their eggs in peace, as well as, of course, the eggs to develop and hatch in peace as well. So we're hoping for some interesting things coming out of Sham Wan. Hoping, absolutely. But these are all species which are very, very familiar to Hong Kong. Question is, of course, why? Why is the Hong Kong is so biodiverse? And if I got all biology and geography teacher all on you, we could start discussing abiotic factors such as climate. We are obviously nicely sandwiched and wedged in between a dry continental airstream to the north of us, encompassing a lot of China and monsoon winds coming off of the Himalayas, and the South China Sea to the south of us, which obviously is a major humid airstream as well. These things sort of jostle for position throughout the years. This is why we have a clearly defined dry and wet season. As well as this, of course, there are geographical aspects. So we have obviously a lot of different habitats in Hong Kong as well. Top left there, you can see wooded hillsides. Again, the difference between our wooded hillsides is quite apparent. We have lots of sort of shallow inclines. We have steep inclines. We have north facing. We have south facing, east facing, west facing, which of course has an impact on the amount of sunlight which obviously reaches these hillsides, and of course the biodiversity that resides within them. To the top right, you have wetlands. So we do have these little marshes, we do have these little rivers and streams, which again are home to very, very important species, or important, what's the word I'm looking for? Interesting species of fresh water there, especially some of our amphibious amphibians that reside there, such as the Romer's tree frog, etc. Well, bottom left, you have mangroves, which of course along our coasts, especially places like Mai Po, Tai Tam, Tolo Harbour, etc., 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 you have these really, really interesting sort of mudflats and mangrove species which grow in there. And again, the different biodiversity that resides in it. And then you have coral. Now, as Benita will probably attest, and of course, I think everybody else on here can actually dive, we do have coral in, especially in the eastern side of Hong Kong, towards your Hoi Has and your Tolo Harbours and your Sai Kung Bays, etc., etc. Nice and shallow, and of course, very, very good nutrients for, I guess, for coral themselves. You won't find that many corals in the west of Hong Kong, and I'm putting this down to the fact that the western side of Hong Kong is right slap bang in the confluence of a giant river system, the Pearl River. So I would assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I would assume that the waters to the west of Hong Kong are slightly less salty than the ones in the right, so into the east. So therefore, you actually get other species such as the Chinese white dolphin, which love the western side, but you very, very rarely see them on the eastern side, and also vice versa for coral itself.
I think with the coral as well, the silt from the river probably has an effect on the coral's ability to grow. But that's just me, sorry.
No. That's all good. That absolutely makes sense. Absolutely. So wonderful. So we do know that we have all of this biodiversity in Hong Kong, and of course, therein lies the habitats that also we are make their home here. So what I wanted to just do is divert a little bit to citizen science itself. Now, our friends in National Geographic will obviously tell you that citizen science is the practice of public participation and collaboration in scientific research to increase scientific knowledge. So I've obviously picked up little pictures here. You can sort of see leopard cats from our what do you call them? Cameras. So I've forgotten what the hell they were called then, but cameras. And of course, you know, some of our participants of some of our youth programs, which are also doing some number crunching, as you like, which is obviously a big part of the scientific research itself. But ultimately, I guess the reason for citizen science that actually exists in the first place is because researchers and ecologists and scientists can't be everywhere at the same time. Ultimately, and obviously there are certain other aspects of research which, well, quite frankly, isn't well researched as much as, say, keystone things like mangrove research is obviously quite high than, say, maybe urban ecology. So therefore, citizen science can actually fill these knowledge gaps. But in terms of general citizen science, it doesn't have to be biodiversity. It could be things like weather. You know, there are obviously a lot of people that keep an eye on the weather these days, and they're obviously that their records are obviously kept and can be scrutinized as far as whenever's needed. In fact, I think anybody, there's only three of you at the moment. Anyone hazard a guess what the oldest citizen science project, continuous citizen science project is?
No idea.
I'll give you a clue. Japan.
Japan?
Japan.
Earthquakes?
Nope. Good good answer though, but not earthquakes. Okay. I'll give you another clue. Leads into temperature and a calendar. Oh, you are going to kick yourselves.
Nothing to do with the cherry blossom when they...
That's it.
Oh, okay. Cool.
That's it. That's absolutely it. Cherry blossoms. People have been noting the time when the cherry trees blossom, I suppose, for over 1,000 years. And actually, because of that, they've actually developed a calendar system based on that. So absolutely, noting down when the flowers start coming out is actually the oldest continuous citizen science project ever, really. And what long may it continue. Absolutely. But in any case, you don't have to sit around waiting for trees to blossom in order to be a citizen scientist. You obviously can use other techniques as well. So one such technique, of course, is iNaturalist. Like that segue? Fantastic, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay, so iNaturalist, as I'm sure you all know, you've all used it before, is a fantastic, easy to use platform for non-specialist people to collect data. Ultimately, what it is so simple. It's a smartphone app. If you are out on a walk, on a hike, going to work, going to the shops, and you see a bird, a bug, a flower, whatever it is, a squirrel or something like that, you can take a picture of it on this particular app using the obviously the camera within the actual app itself, and then upload it. Basically, the date and time will be logged, the location will be logged, and of course, other people on iNaturalist will be on hand to offer identifications to it. So ultimately, what iNaturalist does is basically the basic tenets of ecology. When you take a picture, that's your evidence. When you obviously it automatically logs the date and time, and of course you're the one that's making the record. So and ultimately, ecology is basically what did you see, Where did you see it? When did you see it? Who saw it? And is there any description of what you saw? That's basically it. That's ecology. And iNaturalist is a fantastic way of replicating that. Um, Basically, as I'm sure you've all known, I'll just gloss over this. Once you take a picture, you go to a landing page where you can actually see there. You can sort of see there what this is on an iPhone. The date and the time is logged. The location is logged. All you have to do is or press the what did you see part. Now, iNaturalist does have it will load suggestions for you. And in the past, I've never encouraged people to use it, only because this particular app was developed in North America, and the suggestions that it would give you would be North American species of which it would kind of look similar. But as more people have started to use iNaturalist in Asia, especially, the AI will offer Asian suggestions or even things that are nearby. So ultimately, what did you see? Just type down what you saw: spider, butterfly, insect, bird, and let other people be engaged with other iNaturalist users. Android is pretty much similar, apart from the little sort of, I don't know if you guys have an Android, but basically that's the sort of thing where you hit the tick, and that's basically how you share. So what happens? So this is a little go-to example that I always use. So ultimately, this particular spider, this was in my bathroom on Llama Island where I live. And just for a little bit of context, that thing here, if you can sort of see that there, that's an eyelash. Okay, so it's it's really, really small. Okay, so when I took this picture, obviously I uploaded it, but I wrote down that it was a spider in the what did you see section. I'm not stupid. I know for sure that that is a spider. So of course, if you know your taxonomy, it comes up with the blanket term for all spiders, which is class Arachnida. From that, these people who I obviously don't know, I've never really met before, went and offered suggestions of what it could be, as identification suggestions. So this really, really amazing username, Robot Pie, which I really love, and I wish I had that username, but damn, came up with, says, I'm guessing Castanera, but I'm not sure what genesis are found in Hong Kong. So he identified it down to family level for me. GC Snelling, he agreed, or she agreed. And then this guy, Hokun Wong, who actually developed all of these, this 200 species of spider poster I've got behind me, says, I know what that is, and then identified it as Castanera Hong Kong. Fantastic. And what I can do is I can actually click that Castanera Hong Kong and find out a little bit more about that particular species. Wonderful. So ultimately, you take a picture, you engage with other people, and your observation is identified. Fantastic. It's basically the social media of biodiversity monitoring. Brilliant. What also happens to your observation is it goes into a giant database. So ultimately, you can access this database, and we will do so very, very shortly. But it's actually, I love looking at this picture because it actually sort of shows you where people are going. And of course, you can sort of see they're going everywhere, which is brilliant. There's nothing that hasn't, that's not out of access for people in Hong Kong. They definitely go everywhere. Oh, by the way, these, I don't know if I can sort of zoom in a little bit on this. So these teardrops, okay, are actual verified observations, okay? But then these ones, which are like little dots, you sort of like little faded circles, these are observations of species that are on the IUCN Red List. So the locations, the true locations of these particular observations has been obscured. This prevents things like poaching, for example, or going to areas where, you know, which may be sensitive. Mm. In terms of, whoops, in terms of usage, Hong Kong's first started messing around with iNaturalist back in 2011. 5 observers started taking or uploading pictures onto their accounts, and from then, the whole usage of iNaturalist has just completely skyrocketed. None more so than in 2018, when 146,000 observations were taken, which is basically more than the previous years combined. And of course 4,553 observers. Insane. And probably you can thank the City Nature Challenge for that, and the schools project that we've had, which is the Hong Kong Inter-School City Nature Challenge, which also encourages young people to go out and take pictures in and around their school neighborhoods, as well as other NGOs, other research institutes, which are also looking to use this app as part of their own activities. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm actually going to go straight on to the, oops. I'm going to go straight onto my iNaturalist page. So if ever you go onto the iNaturalist webpage, this is basically what you see. So once you log on, you come up with your own platform page, which is, you know, everything that you want to sort of like look what you're looking at. Now, in terms of the actual accessing the database, just click explore. And ultimately, oops, this sort of shows you everything. So mine is obviously linked to Hong Kong itself. And here is the database itself at Hong Kong. So ultimately, there are just over 526,000 observations. I'm just going to use the filters and get rid of all the verifiable ones. So we get unverifiable. There you see it, 683,000 observations of just over 13,500 species from under 15,300 observers. Amazing. Really, really, really amazing. So we can access this. We can absolutely mess around and isolate. And if you haven't been on this particular side of on this particular website, please do. It's really, really fascinating. So use the filters. So I'm just going to click the verifiable again. The verifiable, by the way, have been verifiable means that either a photo or a sound file has been added, and that it has been identified to a particular species itself. There are loads of unknowns out there. So I like spiders, staying with the spider theme. Here it all is. So there have been 26,000 observations of spiders, 418 species of spider in Hong Kong. Did everybody know that? 418? That's insane. I didn't realize there's that many. So you can actually have a look at them all. And here they all are. Here's all the different species. Obviously, some of them are instantly recognizable, like the Nephila species that haven't come out yet. I'm sure they will soon. These jumping spiders, which obviously very, very common around Hong Kong. A lot of these are really, really small. Crab spiders, very, very interesting. Ant mimicking spiders, all sorts of different things. But they are very, very fascinating here. And if you wanted to, you could actually look at each one of these and find out a little bit of information about it. Let's have a look at this little guy, Epoxylia blairii. So we can find out a little bit more about this particular spider. You can see here when this spider has mostly been found, which particular time of the year, who has most seen it. So this guy, Alan Kwok, very prolific on iNaturalist. He's the one that's most seen this before. He's seen it 131 times. Cosmophasis.
That's actually Colin Chu.
That's Colin Chu. Yes, yeah, I remember him. He's the top identifier of this particular species of spider in Hong Kong. So we can, from here, we can see a map of where people have been seeing it. Okay, so pretty much all over the place. A little bit about it. Not much here actually. Taxonomy. So this is the full sort of taxonomic classification of this particular spider. And actually it doesn't have an English name. How about that? Let's give it one. Let's call it Bill. All right, this is Bill the spider. Status, no conservation status. Similar species, so people misidentify this particular species with this one, Epicilla calcarata. Interesting. So ultimately, if you are, I don't know, if you're a student and you're looking to do a project on a particular species in Hong Kong, especially its distribution, you can use this. You can use this database. If you're a teacher, you can use it as a way to actually teach ecology. Especially as a database which is easy to access. Let me just go back to the filters a second. Even if you're just a plain researcher or an enthusiast, you can use this as the basis of further study. Ultimately, you can use this in whatever way you want, okay? Except, of course, for poaching. We don't like that. So actually, we can look at around the world as well. So it's not just in Hong Kong, of course. Let me just take off the spiders. We can look at any other area around the world. If people are using iNaturalist, you can see what they're taking a picture of. Taiwan, as you can see here, it's just absolutely chock full of observations. And probably the main reason for this is because the phone reception in Taiwan is exceptionally good. Okay. Obviously, for iNaturalist, you need a good reception in order to actually take and upload pictures then and there. You are able to obviously take pictures and upload it later on when you get into Wi-Fi. That's no problem. But on Taiwan, if you've ever been there, you can go on top of the highest mountain, look at your phone, and you're still going to have 4 bars. Sickening. Absolutely sickening. Right. So again, we can carry on looking up and seeing this database for what it is. Okay. So another way we can use this database, of course, you can set up projects which will allow you to continuously collect observations that may actually suit whatever it is that you're researching. For example, there's a guy called John Terenzini. You guys have heard of him before?
Jellyfish guy.
He's the jellyfish man, absolutely. So John Terenzini has just started. He used to work for Ed Team Adventures, I think, A Team Adventures or something like that. But he started a jellyfish project. The AFCD apparently reckon that there are about, what was it, 5 or 6 species of jellyfish, of which he absolutely disputes this. So in order to sort of like offer a very, very basic baseline of, what people have already shown out there, I created this iNaturalist project for him. And as you can see, I'm just going to refresh it. Which just, I made it so that it could take up all of these: Cubozoa, Scyphozoa, Staurozoa, Hydrozoa, and Stenophora. He just collects all of these observations automatically. When someone random actually takes a picture of, say, something like this, a jellyfish that's been beached, it will go into his project. This one, Broccoli Lock, great name, love that. Broccoli Lock has taken a picture of that, and he can actually see it. So ultimately, again, you can use these use iNaturalist to create collection projects, which will collect whatever it is that you want, whenever it is that you want it, whatever it is that you want to do. Okay. So interesting. I'm just going to stop share and go back to my presentation just for a second. So yes, that's basically what people are taking a picture of, everything and everything. Okay, so it's actually funny what you can actually find as well on iNaturalist. So this little guy, if you've sort of seen this before, anyone seen this before? Oh yes, the this was a spider, which was a picture was taken of it maybe a couple of years ago by a German teacher called Stefan Obenauer. His iNaturalist username is Portioid, by the way. And basically, he was out hiking in Sheko Country Park and saw this little thing on a railing. And he did what he usually does. He took a picture of it, click, and uploaded it, and kind of recognized what it was, but wasn't really too sure. As far as I understand it, a lot of people on our naturalists were like, "It's a spider," but no, not too sure what it could be. And so actually about a month later, as he was out hiking again, he actually saw it again, which was extraordinarily lucky. And then he captured it, which is illegal, by the way. Don't do that. You need an AFCD permit if you're going to be doing that type of stuff. And sent it off to some researcher friends of his in the University of Manchester, I think it is, in the UK. And actually, when to cut a long story short, it actually was new to science and has since been named Urobalus carlii. The reason for this book, have you got that book there? I can't really see it. Oh yeah. So
Oh, that's my picture of one.
yeah. So Urobalus carlii. So they named this particular spider after Eric Carle, who wrote children's books called The Hungry Caterpillar. And basically this spider mimics a caterpillar, which serves it really well when obviously deterring predators and also hunting for predators. As you know, jumping spiders are ambush predators and are extremely efficient at what they do. This little thing is no exception. So it's funny what people can actually discover when they just open their eyes. Basically, that's what it means. You know, that's what this is. And you always hear about statistics of, oh, 1/5 of all species around the world hasn't actually been, you know, discovered yet, whatever it is. This is actually good evidence of that type of statistic. So therein lies that. So you never know. What can you discover? A new moth in Lantau, maybe. Who knows? Anyway, CNC. Yes, indeedy. So basically, the City Nature Challenge first started in 2016, I believe it was, by the California Academy of Sciences and the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County. Basically, what it is, it's what it is right now. It is a global competition, though I use the term competition incredibly loosely. I've always found the City Nature Challenge to be mostly like a collaborative event anyway. As you can see here, 437 cities and areas around the world will be joining in this year. So from the 30th of April to the 3rd of May, all you have to do is go out. That's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, by the way. Go out and take pictures of nature, take pictures of specimens on iNaturalist and upload it. That's it. That's all you need to do. Ultimately, I always like to term the City Nature Challenge as the largest synchronized biodiversity monitoring project on the planet at the moment. And it's really a fantastic activity to get involved in. How we've usually got on. So as I mentioned, 2016, there were just 2 cities, Los Angeles versus San Francisco. Huge rivalry there on the west coast of the United States. Los Angeles, unfortunately for San Francisco, wiped them clean with the most observations, most species, and most observers. Following year, more US cities joined in, so there were 16. In 2018, it was the first time they went international. That's when Hong Kong first joined. I actually entered Hong Kong on a whim. I absolutely had no idea what it was about, or well, I did have an idea what it was about, but basically how well we could actually do. And I thought this was something that all Hong Kongers could get involved in. I thought we need to be involved in this competition. 2019 was the first time that a non-North American city actually won anything. So Cape Town did really, really well. And 2020, of course, COVID kind of ruined everything for everybody, but still didn't stop people from going out, especially in their backyards, which obviously suited the European and North American cities down to the ground. But obviously in Hong Kong, you don't really have a backyard, so ultimately that was an issue. Now, traditionally, Hong Kong has actually done really quite well in this city nature challenge. We've consistently been in the top 5 for most species logged in every year that we've been in there. So this actually shocks the world. I've actually had conversations with other organizers that kind of go, Hong Kong, really? Aren't you just, tall buildings, the harbor and shopping malls? And it's actually quite interesting to sort of like respond to that, because that actually is the international perspective of Hong Kong. They don't really know about the amazing country parks that we have, the coastlines, our marine areas, our mangroves, etc., etc. So, but we do, of course, and we genuinely shock the world with this. So, as well as the engagement aspect and the informative aspect and the possibilities for education and the possibilities for greater public awareness, I do see the CNC as a great showcase to the world of our amazing biodiversity. And ultimately, it is a collaboration. Now, while WWF and myself, we are the main sort of organizers for Hong Kong, we do open it out to collaborations with various other organizations, schools, universities, what have you, research institutes, because obviously all you need to do is take a picture on iNaturalist. That's it. That's basically it. So you can see down here a few of our partners, especially Encompass HK, who are obviously our partners within this as well. So ultimately, that's basically it from me for the CNC. I thoroughly urge you to get involved. I thoroughly urge you to, if you haven't already, to get yourself an account and start taking pictures and actually understanding what it is that's probably on your own doorstep. I thoroughly encourage you to go looking on the database itself. If there's something that always a nagging feeling about what's a particular species in Hong Kong that you've always wanted to know where to find, you can actually see it here. You can also, by the way, look at trends. You can do it from temporal stuff as well. So you can see a particular species, say in January, in February, in March, and you can sort of like create little trends on that. I thoroughly encourage you to go out and do so. And also, COVID being as it is, just going out and having a walk is very good for the mental health. So go out and see what you can find. That is basically it. Go out and see what you can explore. Peace.
Thank you, Sean.
You're welcome.
I don't know if anybody have a question, but I'll ask first. So what happened if I go to Hoi Ha where there's no reception, or I'm going diving where I cannot bring my phone?
Okay, so there's 2 questions there actually. So the first one about reception. Yes, you don't actually have to have reception or Wi-Fi in order to take an observation on iNaturalist. What you should do is you should still carry on taking a picture of whatever it is that you want to do, but your phone will actually log the latitude and the longitude. So when you actually go back into a place where it actually has Wi-Fi, you can actually upload when you actually get there as well. It will, so basically if you're in Hoi Ha, take the picture, try to share it. It will say, can't do it yet. When you get to a place that has Wi-Fi, share it again, and it will upload with all the details, the time, the date, the location. Second part, underwater. Yes, you can absolutely take pictures underwater. In fact, you don't even have to use your smartphone. If you have a decent camera, you can absolutely take pictures of iNaturalist of specimen species, underwater stuff on your camera and upload it. In fact, if I show you, go back to this page here, you see this here, upload, right there. You click on that. And there it is. Drag and drop some photos or sounds. So when you actually put, you can hook up your camera to the computer, you can drag it off that camera file and put it into here. And if your camera has a GPS on it, it will actually show where the picture was taken, and you can actually sort of edit where it was exactly. Ultimately, that's how you can do it.
So you were mentioning the species that got fade out the location. So how do I do that when I upload it to blur the location?
It will do it automatically.
Oh.
So but it will have to be identified as such. So if you take a picture of, say, a Chinese white dolphin, and you actually type that into the what did you see aspect, it will, as it sort of uploads, as it will automatically obscure the location. But if you type something like mammal, which of course it is, then it won't be obscured. Okay, so it has to be identified in order to it to be, and then classed in the red list, then it will be obscured. Now you will be able to see the location of where you took your picture, but others will not. And also iNaturalist have sort of said in the past that even if there is a particular species that is not on any IUCN red list, but is very, very sensitive to a particular area, they will also help to obscure those pictures as well and take that into account. I'm even thinking about doing that for the clams.
You can use that for you can use the geoprivacy location, right? Because yeah. I mean, for example, I saw a white-browed keelback. So the Hong Kong Snake ID people asked me not to locate it. So when I loaded it, I used the geoprivacy so that no one knew where it was.
Absolutely. You can absolutely do that. And for that particular example, it absolutely makes sense. From the City Nature Challenge part, that particular observation will not be included because you do need a location in order for it to be part of the Hong Kong project. That's the issue with that. So ultimately, I would advise people to use their good judgment about these type of things. If you know, for example, about that particular keelback, then don't upload it, or upload it, but don't give the location away.
Can I share something with the group? So Sean, I'm just going to share screen very quickly. So sure. I know there are some English speaker in here, and I just want to share with you this news. I don't know if, I'm not sure if it's on English media yet, but I think Shasha or Joanne, you might be interested in this. So basically, this is article just came out yesterday. So this group, I don't know what it's called, but it's some sort of eco bugs group in southern Lantau. So what it was saying that in the using iNaturalist, within 63 days, it have 12,000 observations in South Lantau. And then it was saying that one morph species, which morph researcher Roger Kendrick had suggested is a special and probably endemic and a newly discovered species. And there are also 17, basically he said 17 species of insects, including cockroach and bees, were first discovered in Hong Kong. So I think this is the power of iNaturalist. And maybe Sean, I don't know if your colleague want to maybe find like the press release or translate this article, but I think if more people to know about this is really, really, really good news. So there's some, I think there's some good diagram about the observation. So this diagram is saying the observation before 2018 to now, what the type of animals they find. And this is, yeah, I think this is what Sean was sharing, but more in detail about the species they find. So I think it was saying like before this survey that they find more butterfly than everything else. But after this survey, they find more other species like cockroaches, ant, and different things. So I think it's quite interesting, the survey that they do here. So I just want to share this with the group in case you're not aware of this news. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's obviously a lot of what I call observation bias within iNaturalist. You do only take pictures of things that you want to take a picture of. Okay, so you will get the more charismatic species a lot on iNaturalist. So your butterflies, for example, maybe at the expense of something like cockroaches. So for this particular project, which I think is done from Sunny Ma, I believe, in his outdoor wildlife learning Hong Kong project down in Lantau, they've just been like, take pictures of anything that you see, not just pretty things. And ultimately, this is what you actually get. So that absolutely doesn't surprise me from the before the survey that butterflies were the main thing, but that's not necessarily indicative of the actual area. You know, it may be chock full of butterflies, but just other people haven't taken pictures of all the other stuff. So like the true bugs there, the dragonflies, the spiders, the beetles, the flies there, they're all there. So really interesting stuff. Yeah. And obviously it suited their main objectives, which was to actually properly use it as a survey method.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I don't know if this might interest Joanne. I don't know, Joanne, have you heard about the school challenges that
I have. I've had emails from Sean about it, actually. We're looking at Sean maybe doing a Zoom with our kids at some point to introduce it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's something we're definitely.
I'm working my way throughout all the schools of
Yeah, I bet you are. Can I just ask, for the City Nature Challenge, is there anything other than logging things on iNaturalist that we need to do differently between those dates, or it's just continue using it but as frequently as we can?
That's basically it. No pets.
No.
No indoor potted plants.
Yeah.
No selfies. And that's basically it, really.
Okay. Do you have to join? You have to join the thing, do you, or will it just record anyway?
Automatic. If you are, if you are within the boundary, which is all of Hong Kong, if you are within those days, which is those 4 days that I mentioned, it will be included in the project. If you want to join the project, so when you go onto the web page and actually join it, basically that means that you can actually keep an eye on the project on your app on the phone. So if you are interested in that, you can actually, keep an eye on your phone as well as actually on the web page. But ultimately, you don't really have to do anything other than just take pictures on iNaturalist. Or the other app, the sister app that iNaturalist has, which is Seek by iNaturalist. Have you guys heard of this before?
No, I haven't.
All right. Well, Seek is basically made by iNaturalist, developed by iNaturalist as well. Whereas iNaturalist has been used with WWF funding, National Geographic funding. Seek, I believe, has also had WWF funding somewhere along the line. I'm not too sure. You have to ask someone from WWF International for that. But it's basically more for the younger naturalist. Think Pokemon Go, but with real plants and animals. And that's basically it. You get challenges and stuff like that. There it is. And yeah, basically that's it. You get like little badges for like taking pictures of like 3 flowers or something like that, or take a picture of a butterfly. But actually, the kid, when people take pictures on this, it also goes into the iNaturalist database. And of course, as we know, or we may not know, if your picture has been identified and there's a consensus on iNaturalist, it will go further up to another database called the Global Biodiversity Information Facility, called GBIF. And that's basically like an open access database for any ecologist to use. And there's been quite a few citations, I believe, based on iNaturalist references. So yeah, all good. So yes, Seek by iNaturalist is also being used. Oh, there it is, GBIF. Yeah.
So Sean, you were saying that only those who are verified will go into this, right?
Absolutely. Verified and of research grade, which if something is research grade, there's a consensus on the identification. But I guess the great thing about iNaturalist is that all observations are still forever open to scrutiny. Observations will always be open for people to offer identifications onto it, always, from the end of time, or at least till the end of, apps.
For the inter-school challenge, how is that different in terms of logging which schools have captured what information?
Well, ultimately, yeah, I mean, the Inter-School City Nature Challenge actually uses the model of the City Nature Challenge. So instead of cities, it just goes towards the area around the campus and the neighborhood. So I actually work with a lot of the schools to say, like, okay, what do you actually have access to? Is there a park nearby? Are there major roads? I don't particularly want students getting run over. I don't want them getting trespassing or anything like that. So I work with the schools in order to actually put like a little area around their school. Okay. And I isolate that on the app. Okay. So therefore, again, observations will always be collected. But we do that in November.
Okay, so that's not now. That's later.
Not now. I've on purposely done this, so that CNC will always be around April.
Yeah.
And inter-school CNC will always be around November. So there's a nice 6 month.
Yes, nice gap there.
A nice gap in between both of them. So
by November we might be allowed to get into the park.
I can, yeah. I'm hoping that yes, things will all go back to normal for schools, especially next term, the new school year, so that the inter-school CNC can actually properly, get some muscle behind it.
Any questions from our? Oh, sorry.
I've got some weird sort of technical sort of ish, because I'm tech phobic. Okay, I don't take the pictures. Usually when I'm out taking pictures, I take it with my camera. Yep. And I'm uploading to the phone. So I don't have the automatic load. I don't, so that means I have to always use the location thing. Every time I've got a photo that I'm putting in, I have to pinpoint the location, which means I start off somewhere in Europe and I have to travel across to Hong Kong on the bloody map, right? And then find approximately where I took the photo and then log it there.
Yeah.
Is there anything like, is there something I'm not spotting where I could just, because I'm usually taking photos in like one of 4 locations or 5 locations. Is there not something I can sort of like use as a pin, rather than having to every single time drag that damn map across?
If you had a GPS function on your phone,
I do.
Naturally, like of where you take the picture, and like when you take a picture, there's usually a timestamp on your camera, right?
No, my camera does have that because it's a TG6, so it has but I can't see how it's. I can't quite see how. Are you doing that talk on Wednesday night?
Oh, the green drinks. Yeah, I am. Yeah.
I don't know if it's full up yet. Maybe I need to come across and have someone show me what the heck I'm doing wrong.
Honestly, I don't think, because I've not seen any other way of doing that, of not using the camera function on the app itself to actually log the location on it. But so camera stamps. So
because I kind of gave up. I'm taking like, sort of, well, I'm taking 300 photos, which I whittle down to about 50 every time, but uploading 50 photos 3 times a week is with the map drag. I gave up. and it's kind of sad. I mean, I'll do it for the naturalist, you know, the City Nature Challenge.
Yeah.
But I'm going a bit nuts otherwise. I mean, and my other thing is like sometimes I'm taking photos of stuff which people want. And so actually I like to have my locations slightly off where I actually am. Because, okay, for example, Creobrota mantis nymphs, right? Lots of people like collecting mantises, and of course the Creobrotas are so stunningly beautiful. So when I have uploaded to, for example, to Instagram pictures of Creobrotas, I have had so many private messages. Where did you see this? Where did you see this? And I'm like, absolutely not saying anything about where I saw them, because otherwise there'll be people in there collecting them for poaching, essentially, right?
Yep.
It's clearly that they're poaching them. And that's my other issue with the location function, which I know you need to have to be ID'd, but actually usually I obscure slightly where it was, you know, I give a more generalized rather than a specific location as I'm dragging my map, because I am worried that people will go and decimate my populations of Creobrotas.
No. I mean, your concerns are absolutely valid. And honestly, what you do with your pictures is your business.
Yeah.
Ultimately, when you do the location, as you do it by taking pictures on your camera, right, rather than actually through the app. That's fine, so long as you're happy. There's no other way. By the way, for the record, there's no other way that I know of to actually not do this manually. I understand. Sorry, I understand. It's a pain in the ass, but I can't give you any kind of good news.
Damn it. Okay.
But in terms of the reasons not to put locations, absolutely valid. Stick the geo privacy on. No worries. Absolutely no problem at all. But people will still see your picture and still offer identifications on it.
Yeah.
Only you can control, obviously, who knows the location of this.
Yeah.
So that's fine. Honestly, there's nothing wrong with what you've been doing.
Okay.
It's just a pain in the ass if you actually want to do the location.
Yeah, no, I would. I mean, I'd like to, but I'm terrified for the same thing with Porsches and a few other things.
Yeah.
I'm like, no way am I letting people know exactly where it was I saw them.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, I'm like the same with things like, I mean, ultimately, I don't, I always have the location on it. So I've actually stopped myself taking pictures in the first place of certain things, just because of that. You know what? It doesn't need to be on the database. Do you know what I mean? This Chinese cobra, it probably should just be left alone. You know what I mean? This giant Burmese python, which I saw when walking my dog, doesn't need to go on iNaturalist, So again, I use, as you've done, the common sense really about what to put on and what not to put on. No worries, not a problem. Groovy.
Any more questions from Joanne or Helen, who joined us just now?
Oh, sorry, I was a bit late to the party there. I was ended up talking. I'm one of Kaz's friends, and Benito. We talked before about stuff, psycho. But the iNaturalist thing really interested me because there's a couple of students I was teaching through COVID, and they had to do the iNaturalist challenge thing, and I found it on the spot a bit complicated for me to work out. And like Sasha, I'm not particularly techie genius. But I'm, now that there's this other challenge going on, I'm quite interested on when I'm going out hiking to actually try to use it and try to identify, because it really annoys me. There's quite a lot of plants I don't know what they are, and I see them all the time. There's things I do know. I think it's really great. But I've got a question with the Seek one.
Yeah.
Would you prefer that we did things through Seek? Because I've just downloaded that and now I need to work out what that one is as well.
Honestly, it doesn't matter. Seek and iNaturalist, as I mentioned, the observations go into the same database. And even if you use Seek, during the City Nature Challenge dates, it will be included in the City Nature Challenge projects. So no worries. use the one you're most comfortable with.
Okay. They both developed by same.
They're both developed by the same guys. Yeah, absolutely. But one's obviously, as I mentioned, is more Pokemon Go but with real plants and animals, and the other one's a little bit more sciencey and basic, you know.
Okay. And then I think it was, oh my God, my house is really messy. Just interested.
I'm in my office. It's rubbish here as well.
No, that is very organized. There's a reason why I turned my camera off. But talking, you guys were talking about like not putting the Chinese cobra on and things that you see just to, but like people who have got a bit more common sense about nature and leaving animals particularly undisturbed. Is there any way of being able to put that out to the public that they don't have to always put on all these, especially the endangered species?
Well, endangered species, if any species is protected, or if any, well, firstly, there's two perspectives of that. So if any species, if any observation gets identified as something that's on the IUCN red list, then the location is automatically obscured a 10-kilometer radius.
Okay.
So even if I try looking for something on the, in fact, let me just show you actually. So explore. So for example, this is Hong Kong. I'm going to look at the threatened. Click. Here's all the threatened ones. Species. So for example, these guys. This is the the cockatoos.
Yeah, I thought they were an import.
They were an import, but actually, bizarrely, they are also critically endangered. So you can see here. Now, you guys know as well as I do that the vast majority of cockatoos that you will see in Hong Kong will be around Hong Kong Park and the North Hong Kong or Hong Kong Island. But as you can sort of see here, there's just basically, this is not a true representation of where these cockatoos actually are. It gives a kind of rough idea where they are, but not a true representation of where they are. So that's ultimately what will actually happen. Same thing for, I don't know.
So how detailed does that map go into if you start zooming in further and further? These are uploads that people have put on that they spotted the cockatoos, correct?
Yeah.
But that's showing you where they are, or is that just
where they are? But, yeah.
Tell you street and tree location? I think that's kind of detailed to me.
No, because
it's not though. That's the thing.
It's not, because where you see them mainly is Hong Kong Island around mid-levels, right? So sort of the length of Bowen Road and down Hong Kong Park and stuff. But
here's Hong Kong Park. Look.
Yeah, and then
there's nothing there around Hong Kong Park. So it's showing places where they're not. But it's showing places, as I say, it's a 10-kilometer radius. So we just randomly plonk them. So it's just randomly plonked them in this maddening sort of square. In fact, if I was looking at this as a true representation of where cockatoos actually are, I'll be looking in the channel. I'd be looking in the sort of areas between like the islands here, which of course isn't right.
So that's for the endangered and protected species and threatened.
So this is for the so the example here is the cockatoo. If I look at something like
say the Burmese python, because I know they're around Cyclone then.
I'm not too sure the Burmese python is endangered. Hang a minute, let me have a look.
Isn't it protected though?
Not endangered.
These ones.
It's not a protected species, as it were. Let me just have a look. Black-faced spoonbill. Let's just have a look at that. It's a big square of observations, isn't it? Let me try again with another snake. Hang on a minute.
That was showing going into China. So how does that work? Is that
China?
Are we supposed to be tagging things in China or?
You cannot tag anything in China because China will not. iNaturalist uses Google. iNaturalist uses Google Maps for its location services, and of course you can't have that in China, so they don't really use China. However, if you do use a VPN, you can go up there and take pictures, and the latitude and longitude the GPS will actually work. I've done it before. I didn't realize I could do it, and I just thought I'd have a crack at it. Put a new SIM card in, and then started snapping away. There's a plug for you. Anyway,
I didn't realize. I knew the Niger Atra is actually endangered. I didn't realize that.
Let's have a look. Vulnerable. It's classed as vulnerable.
Wow.
Vulnerable on the IUCN Red List.
That's the snake I've seen the most of because my dog keeps sniffing them out.
Sasha, where do you live?
No, don't tell her.
I'm not a snake person.
I'm going walking in a particular country park that she's found quite a lot in for me.
Is that a country park on Thailand or in Sai-Kung?
That I have not seen them in Sai-Kung.
Thank God for that. But years ago, oh God, when I moved to Sai-Kung, I think it's just after that, 2013, 14, there was this cobra in every damn village. And it is my worst nightmare to come across anything like that. We've had the pythons. We've had there was a massive python on SCMP's little video clips that was in the bottom of my village that my friend's son found. I don't think I mind those so much, but the cobras.
I mean, all the cobras I've seen have been pretty chill. So.
Still a cobra.
No, I've seen 5 Chinese cobras, and each one has been fine. Actually, they've been up because they don't like the dog, but they'll let us all back away, and it's been good.
Yeah, my dog likes to make friends with Chinese cobras.
Yeah,
and unfortunately, the Chinese cobras don't want to be friends with dogs. So they just basically go away. Oh,
there was a dog today that got bitten and killed by one. Well, get bitten and died. I have a feeling it was went to Acorn Veterinary Center. Yeah, cute. But no, not my favorite creature.
Anyway, but if you do see it, take a picture of it, upload it, especially.
I won't be there long enough to take a photo of it.
I'm sure it'll pose there long enough.
I'll give you a stock photo.
Helen, there's a really good. Have you come across Hong Kong Snake ID on Facebook?
Oh yeah.
No, people try to put me on that, and I can't.
It's fabulous, honestly. It's beautiful. You really get a fantastic appreciation, and how many observations there are, and how little problem there has been with any of the snakes that you see in Hong Kong as a result. It really is a great site for sort of educating you and making, I don't know, just accustoming you to the idea that the snakes are out there, but they're not doing anything.
It's not that
disappearing as fast as they can.
It is the irrational. It is completely an irrational fear. I absolutely hate snakes.
I mean, even bamboo pit vipers, which are actually the most,
which I have seen and been very close to before.
Yeah, and they're totally. I've walked straight past them accidentally with them right beside me, and never had any problem with them. And only later realized that I walked right by them.
Some people have spider phobia. I love spiders. I can handle them. I don't care about spiders and insects and anything. I absolutely can't do snakes. It's just something. I've been here my entire life and I just can't. I hate them. I hate being in a glass cage. I just don't like being anywhere near them. So yeah, there won't be a photo of a cobra coming from me, that's for sure.
Fair enough.
I think it's a very good discussion. We have a small group, but everybody is very excited, Sean. Do you have any lasting word for us? I don't want to keep you too long. I know it's a long day for you.
Not really, no. I mean, just carry on exploring. I mean, you don't have to, obviously, I mean, with iNaturalist or even with Seek, you can do it whenever you want to do it. You can do it, throughout the whole year. It doesn't have to be this with the CNC or even with the interschool CNC. So Yeah, I absolutely encourage you guys to go out and explore, and of course to look on the database on the website itself and see if there's anything of interest for you there.
Yeah.
I think there's,
oh, sorry.
Can I just say one more thing? Sorry, because I'm all about the talking. Sorry. There is actually, I think Robert Ferguson is running an event at Lions Nature Education Park to ID species, just because he's trying to get the AFCD to actually bring Lions Nature back to an actual nature park as opposed to a manicured garden without any actual species in it. So I think
garden. Sorry.
No, because I remember what it was like several years ago before the latest management team got its hands on it. And he's actually, so he runs Wild Creatures Hong Kong, which is like a site which has lots of beautiful photos. And if you follow him on Facebook or on, you can get emails from him. He's running something at the Lions Nature in Sai Kung, and he's asking people, and I think it's going to be tied in directly to the City Nature Challenge, so that as soon as you upload a photo, it'll go straight into the iNaturalist bank without you having to even think about it, which is quite which is quite nice, you know, with the technophobic people. And so if he'll give you times, if you follow him, he'll give you times of when he's doing that. And that's I think that's a really worthwhile initiative, because like I said, Lions Nature used to be amazing with a number of different creatures that it had there, and it's basically been somewhat decimated in recent years, and it needs to be brought back to where it was before. Sorry, that was just my...
No, not at all. And in fact, on Wednesday, I'll be doing another sort of talk like this for Hong Kong green drinks. And Robert will actually be talking alongside me as well. So we'll be sharing the stage, if you like. So, join in if you want.
Is that actually in the Cafe 8 place? Or
so there is limited seats in Cafe 8 available. So if you do want to go, you'll have to let Merrin know.
Yeah, let Merrin know.
Otherwise, there's a Zoom link if you look on Facebook.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, I don't know why, but I mean, I know Merrin very well. I know Robert very well. I don't know why I never get the notifications for Hong Kong green drinks. It really annoys me. So
they don't do any email circulars anymore, do they? So I guess, I guess it's all Facebook now, I suppose.
And everyone gets 100.
There is the email list, so I think Helen, you might need to tell Marion to put you back into the email list. I got the email for Sean's talk.
You got an email.
I got it. I just got it. Yeah.
Ah, okay. No, I will. I'll message him and tell him.
I just want to share one last thing very quickly before we end. Samuel, a young naturalist, will be sharing this talk for Encompass, another free talk on reptile and amphibian. In 2 weeks' time, and Robert Ferguson, which all of you know, will also have 10 minutes about his new book, Hong Kong Snakes, which some of you might have already. A fantastic book. So
fantastic, Helen. This is the book for you.
You'll probably give me a free copy, and because I'll be backing away from it.
It's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous book.
So anyway, if you want to learn more about snakes, amphibian, frogs, everything, join us. Free talk again, and thank you again for Sean's time with us today. I know it's very late for you, and I know you have worked very hard this month to get us going, and we'll do everything we can to support you and join the competition.
Thank you very much. Pleasure. Thanks for having me. Pleasure.
Thank you so much. That was great.
Go home, get some sleep, Sean. Get some sleep.
Yeah. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye. Nice to meet you guys.